We're back, and it's time for Fast Five. Let's get to our first topic. Britain is leaving the European Union. Everybody thought that they were going to stay.
Up to and including the people that were voting to exit the EU.
Yes.
I heard, and I am very relieved to hear that we do not have a monopoly on rednecks. Britain has its own share. So a fishmonger from Bristol, I believe, who was being interviewed and said, well, you know, I woke up Friday morning to realize that we're no longer in the EU, and I'm kind of scared now, even though I voted for it. Well,
be careful what you wish for.
Well, what do you think is going to happen if you vote for something? And, you know, I find it interesting. So London, Scotland, and Northern Ireland all voted
to stay.
With large margins to stay. The day after, the Scottish Home Minister called the cabinet and had released a statement basically saying that another independence vote is very likely. So is this the end of Great Britain or the United Kingdom? Is it going to break up?
And very interestingly also, so the day after the referendum, Google searches from the United Kingdom spiked for the phrase, "What is the EU?" Now, I would have hoped that would have been before the referendum,
Yes.
not afterwards. So, but apparently they decided to Google search for, hey, what did we vote for yesterday?
Yep. Ron, what do you think?
I don't know. I've heard it here where people wanted to secede. Western Maryland wanted to
secede
secede
from
become their
Maryland,
own-
right.
Yeah, from Maryland. Texas wanted to secede.
Right.
Once, once they do it,
Then what?
yeah. Where
Yeah.
do they get their money to do things? They're
Right,
going to
right.
Now, strangely
and
enough,
healthcare and that type of
Western
thing.
Maryland is a net taker from the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
We
could
get
not
more
survive on our
tax
own.
dollars than we make.
Yeah.
You know, interestingly enough, the one state in the country, at least prior to the Civil War, that constitutionally could have seceded was Texas, which was a result of the Articles of Incorporation, I forget what they were called, when the Republic of Texas became the state of Texas.
Okay. North Korea has proven the fact that it can launch a missile to the continental U.S.
Is that to the continental U.S. or to some of our allies?
It is to some of our allies.
Yeah,
They
it's to some of our
they
allies.
have as yet not fired any missile that would even hit the Aleutian Islands. Now, let's be frank here. Their success rate is abysmal. Just because 1 in 20 missiles actually manages to make it a couple of hundred miles doesn't mean North Korea is a threat to anybody.
But what else do they have to spend their money on?
North Korea is a joke, and North Korea will cease to exist the minute that the Chinese come to the decision that they're more of a liability than they're as a benefit as a counterweight.
Ken?
And mark my words.
Oh, I agree with Colin, absolutely. Either that or North Koreans could accidentally blow themselves up anyway. So,
Ron, what say you?
I'm thinking Trump, he was talking a good bit about it, all the problems that we face, and I think he'll be putting together a contingent with Dennis Rodman and him that'll probably go over and talk to the North Korean.
While he's
I'm
starting
being
World War
facetious.
III,
Yeah.
he will solve the North Korean
Yeah,
crisis.
I'm being facetious, but that's the kind of rhetoric that you're hearing from a national political candidate. That's scary.
Terror at the Istanbul airport. They were not afraid to call it terror from minute one. Ron, does that matter?
Yeah,
Is it
you
all
can
about the
call
name?
You can call it radical Islamic
Jihadists?
jihadists, you can call it radical Islamic, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be there. How many people's been killed in this country since that attack at the airport last night? How many people was killed on the soil of the United States, murdered, since yesterday?
Probably several hundred.
Okay, no problem with that.
right.
But boy, all of the problems we have with that terrorist issue at the airport is unbelievable. That airport's opened up, by the way.
Yeah.
I just heard them talking
Well,
about
and,
it. They weren't even shut 24
You think
hours.
this will help influence the election any?
No.
No, I really don't.
Okay.
But here's what I would say about that, and you're right, Ron, in that we do put way too much emphasis on terrorism in terms of as a reflection or in terms of a scaling it to the crime issues that we have in this country. However, this was an attack on an international airport. It is significant because any flight going anywhere east of Turkey is going to go through Istanbul. So it's a major international
And
hub.
coming out of there, they're coming here.
And
to the United
the
States.
reason they attacked that airport is because ISIS is starting to lose ground. They
Okay.
In Fallujah, they lost in Fallujah, so they've lost a lot in Iraq.
And let me tell you what we're going to lose as a community. We are losing a legend in the city of Hagerstown. Junior Mason, heading the Parks Department for 40 plus years, is retiring this week. What do we say about Junior? Anybody know Junior?
I know Junior personally. I've worked with him with a whole bunch of different projects. Long Meadows Rotary Park was one that we've developed. The Kiwanis Park was another one. And we're working with a couple of other people now for a monarch butterfly way station in our park, just like the Kiwanis put in. Junior Mason, it'll be hard to ever replace that man for the good that he's done to the city of Hagerstown.
You know, I can't say I actually know Junior, but you know, I will say I love Hagerstown's parks. I absolutely love them. They're beautiful, they're well maintained, they're well run.
Well, and Junior was an instrumental piece of getting the community garden project off the ground for the city of Hagerstown. He is a wonderful, wonderful human being and somebody who would do anything to help something move along. And there's not enough good words that I could ever say about that man.
All right. So last topic. Washington County is considering adding a local preference for vendors to its purchasing policy. Good move, bad move. Ken, let's start with you.
Well, you know, on one hand, you know, yes, I would love to see that, you know, we're going to give, you know, local vendors preference. On the other hand, now we're going to have a county commissioner who's going to have to abstain from almost every single vote. So
How many county commissioners?
well, okay, I'm sorry, at least one.
Probably
So,
two.
Yeah, probably two. So it's you know, two edges to the coin.
Okay. Ron?
Oh, I agree with what Ken just said. We tried it years ago. Like, I wanted to see him. I worked at Mack, and I wanted to see a preference given that you could buy a Mack truck at the time before it became Volvo. But with all of the legal problems that we encountered, it was decided not to do it. After a good, solid discussion, is local preference the best thing to do? Local preference can become very political, and I think that's the way it would be, because you've got several really good business commissioners there that have dabbled in different things, whether it's John Barr, or I'll mention him, or Leroy Myers, you know, for, you know, the things that they've done, the businesses they're associated, the
And
subcontractors.
very
they're
successful
associated.
businesses and very
Excellent.
well thought of
Yeah,
businesses.
Very good business folks.
Colin?
You know, I think local preference is a good factor to consider, but it shouldn't. The danger, as Ron was saying, is when it becomes the only factor. Ultimately, when you're awarding a contract, you should hire the best person to deliver that contract. If you have two equal bidders and one of them happens to be local, then you consider the fact that contractor is local when you're weighing the decision. But you should never give preference to somebody on any factor that outweighs their inability to perform a project correctly.
And you're going to get the last word on that. I hope you will stay with us because we're back in 3 minutes with Last Call. Stay tuned.